At one point, my kids were getting older, and I had always had kind of a dream of doing a mission trip. Didn't know what it was. Felt like once or twice a year you'd have a missionary come in and present at mass on Sunday and ask for money, and so that it always seemed interesting to me, but not that interesting. When I turned 40 and the kids got old enough to where they were kind of self sufficient, I thought, hey, this would be really really cool. And so, anyways, I had this vision of getting involved in mission trips. They've been doing work in El Salvador. I lived down in Caracas, Venezuela, when I was a kid for a period of years, so spoke Spanish, and they welcomed me to join them on a trip down there. So I went down, I think for my first time, probably 12, 13 years ago, and just fell in love with the place. The people are wonderful. They're so receptive of Americans, particularly Americans going down there to do good, and so we've been going down for about the last 10 years. We uh, always bring a couple of JCU students. I've got a lot of connectivity, but because of the generosity of Dejan, your head soccer coach, and he every year donates shorts and shoes and soccer balls for these kids down in El Salvador. And because I've got some connectivity to the soccer program, in spite of the fact that I was a football player, uh, had the we get tremendous support from him. We've had a number of students, a number of players down with us over the years, and that's it. And we go down there and we spend a bunch of time with the people of El Salvador. It's a 4-day trip, and it's a wonderful, eye-opening experience. I don't know that anybody that's been down there hasn't come back changed in some way, and some come back and they're just more grateful about the great things that we've got going on in our lives. Some come back with a passion to go back down there and find a way to give. They see something that feels like an injustice to them, and as a result, they want to get back involved. So that's what we've been doing over the last decade. It's been a great blessing. I think there's a lot of ways to give back. Dr. Clifford, who's a good friend of mine at John Carroll, a very, very dear friend of mine, has a similar program that he does down in Honduras. And so I think, Carroll people in general, I think it's what makes the John Carroll community so unique. Everybody gives back, they give back in their own way. And so this is, one of the ways that, our families chosen to give back. I think be curious. Talk to fellow alumni. That's what brought me to our mission work in El Salvador. And like I said, I think everybody's giving plan or giving back plan changes throughout their lives and their careers. And so to me, this is a big part of what we do as a family. But I'm sure it'll evolve over the years. So to me, I think just being curious and open to giving back, I think it's innate in our value system. Those that go to Carroll, I mean, we all end up at Carroll, and I firmly believe we ended up there for we all ended up at Carroll for a reason. I think it was God's plan, and to me, it was a wonderful blessing in my life. I met my wife there. And so I think if everybody's affected differently and figured us out how they want to give back differently. But to me, always being open to Christ in your life and what He wants you doing, to me is kind of what's led me down, some of the paths that we've embraced as a family. Every time I go down to El Salvador, I come back with a new learning. I think in the early days, uh, my greatest joy was seeing how happy they were with how little they had. These are people that live with no running water and no power, and they live in, what would be the equivalent of a 10 by 10 bedroom that's built, out of, old wood and metal. They call it lamina, and they'll pack that with, two families, and you go to see them, and they want to bring you in and show you their house. They're so proud of it. And so, that to me is one. I think the second is the generosity they have with how little they have. We were down there for a funeral of a young gal that had died of leukemia, and she was like 12 or 13 years old, and So we were at an outdoor mass, and it came time for the offertory, and I see people like taking their shoes off and pulling change out of their shoes, and I'm thinking, these people have nothing, yet they choose to give back. And like as Americans, we have such a tough time. Most of us have a difficult time wrapping our heads around that type of generosity. Given at that level. And but I think now probably what's probably most interesting to me about the trips we take down there is seeing the trip through others that have gone down for the first time. So Mikey Adelman's been down there, who's one of your coaches on the soccer team. He's a graduate. We got a long history with Michael. Our family does, and seeing people go down and seeing the trip through their eyes the first time, because everybody's affected differently. Like I shared with you what stood out to me as impactful, but everybody's got a different thing or two that's impactful. And so we start every day talking about what impacted them from the day before. And to me, that's an incredible blessing of the trip, because everybody seems to be impacted just a little bit differently.